LAProbate expert, broker associate with eXp Realty in Los Angeles, California. And today we're going to talk about the 11 ways to get a sale in probate real estate. And I think this is really one of the most important thesis of my business. One of the most important methods I've used to build my business successfully, which is that rather than focus on one or two ways to get business, I discovered there are 11 and try to integrate as many of those as I can into my business strategy. And so today, I've given a longer version of this talk where I also get into fundamentals of sales and a more deep dive into each of them. My goal today is really just to give you a view of my toolbox, to open up and say, these are the 11 tools. How many are you using? The companies that sell data and sell coaching primarily sell one or two methods, and we'll talk about which those two are. But I believe to be effective, you want to work with multiple avenues, and you might find that by doing that, you'll pick up an extra deal or two to supplement your marketing, and particularly in the beginning years as you build your business, will be critical in your ability to be successful in the business. So let's dive into this. The 11 ways to get sales of probate. No fluff today. We're just going to review the 11 different tools. So number one is pre-probate. Pre-probate is marketing to people before they filed a probate case. How might you do that? Well, the most common way that's done, primarily by investors, is by getting the list of people who've passed that's cross-referenced to those that own real estate. And by cross-referencing those, theoretically, you have people who've passed and own property that need to do something with it, either pass it to an heir to keep it or pass it to an heir who's going to sell it. And real popular with investors, with home investors, with the cash for, we'll buy a house for cash type investors who want to catch deals really early. I've not bought that. I bought the data and used it, but I found it most effective when I partnered with an investor who that was their primary lead generation, and I provided support. When they found a lead that was unclear about the probate status, I could look up and see if a case was filed. I could look at the situations and help guide them on what to do to move it from a pre-probate, if necessary, to a probate, and what the strategies are. But again, this is a whole world. My goal today is not to go into each tool. Each one of these I do an hour class on, but this one in particular, pre-probate, is something that many people miss. I've used foreclosuresdaily.com, and they have Probate Daily as well, and they sell pre-probate data. And they're the vendor I've used the most for this. So you can buy the data ahead of time, and it'll have the names, addresses of the heirs, of the decedent and the property they owned, cross-reference and give you those leads to go after before anybody's even filed probate. These are also very much used by attorneys. And so another way you might use this pre-probate marketing is partner with an attorney who's looking to market to pre-probates for his probate business or estate planning business. So that's tool number one. Tool number two. Probate leads marketing to the petitioner. This is the most common. This is what, when you buy data from a data source, they're going to emphasize to you. They're going to tell you, here's the data list, and you should call them, you should mail to them. I think that the thing people understand is it's a competitive space. I'm in Los Angeles. Probably the average petitioner gets 30 to 40 pieces of mail sent to them. And I also think that it's a longer tail than most people believe, meaning you'd be surprised how many properties are sold a year or two later. Well, what does that look like? Well, somebody passes, mom or dad pass, and the kids think, oh, well, keep it as a rental. And they don't get around to really fixing it or doing anything for 6 months or a year or two. Or they lease it out after a few months. And as soon as the lease is up, the tenant leaves and or the landlord gets them out because they don't like the rental experience. So it's not uncommon at all for properties that are inherited. Like any property, they're going to get sold eventually, just more likely in a shorter time period. And so we want to market to those. But don't think just because somebody died that their house is going to get sold. Because somebody could be living in there with them, their spouse, their kids, their niece and nephew, their caregiver, tenants, friends who got in on the property, all kinds of stories. And so I don't know the actual percentage of those are sold, but I do know that the average sale still is over 2 years from date of death before the sale date of a property. And that's just because not all of them sell right away. So I'm not saying not to do this one. I'm just saying that integrate this method, number two, and number 3 with some of the others that we talked to. And I think in the long run, you'll be more successful. But again, this is probate leads marketing to petitioner. You can mail to them, direct mail. I tell people you need to have a marketing plan in place for about a 2-year period because the average is about 2 years. So if you're just going to mail once or twice, you're probably wasting your money. You might want to mail once, twice, something cheap to get down that list and call out the bad leads and the bad addresses or whatever. And then after that, maybe every 90 days, a postcard, if that stretches your budget, that might be a solution. But you can phone call for free, you can email if you get the email addresses, door knocking the properties, or all different ways you can work on them for a longer time period. And again, I would suggest you need to get that into a database and keep marketing and have a plan in place for up to 2 years. Number 3, probate leads marketing to attorneys. Now, every market's different. Again, this is a competitive area. I find attorneys are amongst the least interested in direct marketing, which is kind of interesting. But I'm also in Los Angeles, California. It could be different in other areas. And I would imagine in smaller communities, attorneys have more of a small businessman's approach to their business. It might be more approachable. So it depends on your particular area. And again, this is where I say multiple attacks. If you've talked to the estate, but they're not ready to do anything, and then you get the attorney, you can always say, hey, I was talking to your client, and vice versa. And that's where multiple angles of attack come into play. I also would say you should plan for a longer time period, not just because that attorney relationship with that estate might last 2 years, but that attorney might have another case a year from now, 2 years from now. If you keep marketing to them, you have a chance not maybe to get the listing you called on, but the next listing. And so we want to have a system in place that has what I call the long tail. Number 4, MLS Full Authority. Now, MLS is short for the Multiple Listing Service. Full authority means the state can sell the house. They don't need court approval. And this is by far the most common. But what's interesting about that is there are real estate companies who, rather than train their agents on how to negotiate or how to work through these transactions, just tell their agents to avoid them. Or their agents who are just said, well, if it says probate, just ignore it. And so by definition, they probably get about 10% less attention than a standard listing does. And if something has less attention, you're more likely to find a deal than you would otherwise. So I would definitely take a look at, if I could, those opportunities within your business. Now, also I would say that anytime you tell anybody you're doing something special, they're interested. Meaning, when you work with buyers, how do you keep them interested in working with you? How do you demonstrate the value you create to your buyer? Well, one is I check probate listings regularly, which sounds impressive to the buyer. And also, I run a list of all the probate sales that come up right when they're brand new, and I'll forward those to you. I find that most people in the beginning look at my expertise in probate like I'm the prettiest girl at the prom. They want to know more. They don't know why. It sounds sexy. It looks sexy. And so it's a great way to begin the relationship to earn that down the road that you have to continue with to build. So I would definitely look at this as a way to get an entree with buyers you're working with investors you want to work with. And really it's no more in my book than creating a screen in the MLS for all the new listings and then dividing them by appropriate buyers and then sending those listings out to buyers when they come up as a way to create a relationship with them. I also read the remarks from all the competing agents to see who my competition is and what maybe they're doing that I could add into my practice. Number 5 is MLS Limited Authority. Now that's another way of saying properties that are in the multiple listing service, but that the court has to prove. Now that's more common in LA than other areas. It's more common in New York and Florida in some cases where the court approves a certain number of cases. And people say, well, it's a small number. And I would say, great. Whatever that small number is, attack. There's a couple other niches that I work that only have maybe 1 or 2 sales a month in each of those niches. But I work those other 2 niches as well. And a couple deals make it worthwhile for me in my business. So the limited authority is a way to track properties that are going to be sold and need court approval. And there's 2 strategies with that opportunity. One is be the first offer in, call the listing agent. They need to get an offer to get one to have the court approve and try to be that first offer. And if you can't be the first offer, you want to be the last offer by going to court and having an investor overbid to buy the property when it's offered for court. Again, both of those are strategies that require some detailed knowledge, but you should think about adding this strategy to your business because it's another way to present properties to investors. It's another way to talk to attorneys. It's another way to watch your competition and see what they're doing. Number 6, court confirmation sales and auctions. Now, these are properties that are at the court. So before we're talking about listings that are going to go to court and how to play those. But there's a whole world of properties. Again, some jurisdictions like LA, we have 50 a month. In other jurisdictions, you have less. But whatever that number is that's less, what I find is where there's less expertise. And if you have expertise and it's only 1 or 2 a month, you got a shot at 1 or 2 deals a month. That sounds like worthwhile to me. So court confirmations and auctions would be properties sold by the probate court that need court confirmation for whatever reasons. Now, there's other court auctions going on for trustee sales and sheriff sales and things like that. But again, I'm talking about specifically probate. And by going to those, you can meet the attorney, you can see the judges, learn the procedures, bump into investors. All kinds of good stuff happen in my experience at a court confirmation sale. That's number 6. Number 7, courthouse farming. Now, one of my coaches, Joel Epstein, says, how do you get hit by a car? You stand in traffic. And as a real estate agent, many of us have farmed for our business by taking a geographical area and door knocking all the houses. And the real farmers that I met would also talk to the postman, the delivery people, the gardeners, the vendors, the kids while they're walking, that you really want to get the intel on what's happening, as well as meet everybody you can. Courthouse farming is the same concept. I found when I went there just to research the area and to learn about it, I found that there would be investors there. I found estates, owned houses. I found attorneys there, and I could meet them in a way I couldn't meet them by cold calling them. So my goal was to go to the court from 7:45 to 10:45 for 3 hours a day. My goal was to leave on average with 1.5 name, address, phone number, and email address. So on a weekly basis, I was getting about 8. That was my goal. I found if I got 8, that would generate the business I needed to in my probate business. And how did I do that? Court started at 8:30, so I got there at 7:45. I bought a cup of coffee. I dressed like an attorney, wore a dark suit, white shirt, silk tie. I had a briefcase, cup of coffee, stood in the most populated area, and did my best to meet people. And I would have people introduce themselves to me. I would walk up and just say hi to people and ask them who they were, introduce myself. I had a little brochure about my probate services and a business card. I actually had 2 sets of cards. One that looked like a realtor card with my picture and logo and all that. Another one is black and white because that's what attorneys have, and I wanted to look like an attorney to attorneys. So courthouse farming, also in LA, we had, in addition to people walking around, in addition to courtrooms where you could listen and learn, we had a probate research room or filing room. Now, in some jurisdictions, you can meet the staff there and talk to them. I don't believe that's the case in Los Angeles, and certainly today with COVID, impossible. But what was true is while I was working on the computer, other people would see me, ask questions, and I literally got business as a result of just being there and doing my job anyhow. And I would try to do some phone calling and computer work while I was there, hoping to meet people. So courthouse farming, again, all these I can go through for an hour. I'm just trying to give you a high-level interview. Number 8, living trust from consumers. So I think it's really important as a real estate agent to bring value to our customers in order to earn that relationship. And one way is to help them avoid probate. And the best and easiest way, I think, for most people to avoid probate is to have a living trust. So one of the things I've learned is, in my area, several different vendors who offer living trusts to consumers. Different price points. There's the do-it-yourselfer at $600. There's the basic thing at $2,000 or $3,000. There's a more high level at $10,000, appropriate for people with more sophisticated estates. But I've made myself an expert in that field. When I talk to customers, I see how they hold title. If it's not a trust, I'll ask them. I notice it looks like you hold property in your name personally, not a trust. Have you looked into a living trust? Are you familiar with the advantages of it? I'm not selling it for myself. I only offer it to clients as a service to help them avoid probate. I talk about the reasons why they might want to do that. And by doing that, I position myself as an expert in the field, but I also talk about living trust to my database who will call me from time to time. I can refer those leads to my clients, and as a result, those attorneys, when they think of real estate, they're going to think of me to help those clients with their real estate needs. So that's number 8. Number 9 is living trust from attorney referral sources. Now, there are attorneys who build their business doing living trusts. Some of them do online webinars. Some of them do in-person events. Even today, post-COVID, there's now attorneys starting back up again doing events in hotels to promote their business. And so one of the things I've done and continue to do is promote attorneys in their living trust business, putting myself in contact with their clients, helping them get more people into their practice, and of course, when those people need help for real estate, I'm the natural resource. So again, number 9, a lot to talk about, but a high level is just working with attorneys who are building their living trust business. Number 10, COI referrals. Do all the people who know you know you're in real estate? All the people who know, like, and trust you? Do all the people who know, like, and trust you know not only in real estate, but you're an expert in probate or an expert in living trusts? And that's the goal of being an expert, is you can then claim that and share that with people, and then people come to you with people have problems. I have had customers call me up. Hey, Bill, I have my father passed in Florida, I have a couple of properties there. Can you help me? Well, I'm not licensed to sell property in Florida, but I know great attorneys in Florida. I know great real estate agents in Florida. I can help them solve the problem and build my business at the same time. So we want to work on our COI referrals, make sure we position ourselves as experts in helping them avoid their problems or help them solve and achieve their goals and solutions. And one way is with our COI. So we have to make sure that our COI knows of us as a probate expert. And then number 11 is just networking. A lot of real estate agents built their business on networking, going to things like LATIP, BNI, Chamber of Commerce mixers, service clubs like Rotary, Lions Club, all great. But as realtors, the mistake I see all the time, the classic networking mistake, is you get a chance to introduce yourself and it's like, hi, I'm Bill. I specialize in first-time buyers, resale houses, short sales, REOs, apartment buildings, commercial buildings, industrial buildings, bridges, farms. It's crazy. And people hear you and they just tune you out because really you're just saying, I'm an ordinary real estate agent. When I go to network events, I talk to them specifically. I'm an expert in probate and legal real estate. If you have some difficult challenges, feel free to call me. I'll be more glad to try to help you unwind the problem. And people hear, whoa, probate. They'll either remember me when that comes up, a probate issue or a title issue, or they want to know more if they're an investor. And so by focusing in on a niche, we think as realtors, if we claim a niche, we're going to lose all these other pieces. It's the opposite. I've got more other non-probate business because I present myself as a probate expert than I ever got by going to network events and claiming everything. So networking, very important that you network, but we give people the chance, the tools to reach out to you and be successful in referring you business, and that's through networking. Okay, so wrap up again, 11 tools in your toolbox. And if you're a full-time real estate agent working in the probate space, you should use at least, I think, 3 tools minimum. Be aware of all 11 and add the other ones in opportunistically as they come up. What you don't want to do is just use one tool, and don't use it just because a company sold you the data. You want to have numbers and make sure you have metrics, that you're tracking your business, getting the leads you need in order to be successful to build your business. So again, I'm not selling anything. I'm not selling coaching, I'm not selling data. I'm really selling you on the opportunity to build your business and make it bigger and more than you've ever imagined. So again, this is Bill Gross. I'm the LAProbateexpert.com. If you have questions, call me, text me, email me, see me. I host a call every Thursday, 4 p.m., probateweekly.com, probateweekly.com, and you can see my YouTube at Bill Gross XP. Make this week your best week ever. Thanks.